Hey guys, welcome back. Now this week I'll be playing a deck that's been come to known as Dozer Control. I believe this deck was made popular, or was created, by a YouTuber called Aerosol TCG. I'll confirm that. I'll post a link to the original deck in the description. I've just made a few tweaks of my own, just with the cards I've had available, plus just from some testing on my own as well. It's a really fun deck to play. So mostly it consists of Infinitracks, Marketer cards, as well as train cards to control the game and eventually can push for lethal at the point where you have full control of the board. It's a confusing deck to play at times. I make misplays all the time. I realize afterwards the right choice. There's a lot of play lines you could potentially take in this deck, but it's very enjoyable to play as well. It's unassuming in that its combo looks like it doesn't end on too much, but you are generating a lot of advantage as you go, and it has an immense amount of follow-up and a lot of grind game that can follow. So I'll show you the deck list and we'll get straight into it. So to start things off, we have 3 copies of Infinitrack Brutal Dozer, which is the namesake of the deck. I remember when this card first was released, I thought it was really, really strong. But then I know that when I've played Infinitracks in the past, I've always been trying to end on a Calamities Turbo kind of thing. And the Earth Machine restriction that Brutal Dozer locks you under, I always found a bit of a hindrance. So I never played it, but since seeing this deck in action, it's a very key component of the deck. We have 3 Infinitrack Harvester, which you're using predominantly to search out the Dozer, 2 Trencher, 1 Tunneler, and 1 Anchor Drill. So as far as the Infinitrack monsters go, that's all you need. Harvester, searching Brutal Dozer, and then you access the rest of them throughout the combo, or throughout mainly in that turn 1. So that's the Infinitrack side. Now for the Machina side of the deck, this should be 3 Metal Cruncher, and if I can get a third before locals, I'll definitely play 3, but at the moment I only have 2. It does lower the consistency, obviously, by not having 3, but Metal Cruncher as well as Harvester are the main combo starters in this deck, so it's important to have them maxed out. Unfortunately, I'm missing a third copy of Metal Cruncher, so if I can get one, I'll play it. Otherwise, I've got one other card in this deck that I'm trying out just as a one-of. The rest of the Machina cards, we've got 1 Citadel and 1 Fortress, which also help with your grind game. As for the rest of the Earth Machines, I'm playing 1 Bullet Train, one of the best cards in the deck. Playing 1 Derricrane. I've seen this playing multiple of this. I'm going with 1 for now, and we'll just see how it goes. And then the last engine requirement in terms of the monsters is Ancient Gearbox, another really great card in the deck. So you end up looping Box quite a bit throughout a duel using Bullet Train and Box. But I'll show that when I get to the test hands and combos. For the last monsters, I'm just playing 3 Ash. I'm also playing Impermanence for hand traps, but I'll get to that when we get to the traps. For spells, 3 Heavy Forward. This searches any Infinitrack monster. It's also pretty useful for its other effects, so potentially changing battle positions. Maybe if you've revived a Riverstormer from the grave, you could potentially change its battle position to destroy a monster by battle and use its effect to equip it as a material if you need to do that. But it can also attach it to a Machine Xyz monster as a material, which is good for loading up a Zeus if you need to, or putting more materials under a Calamity, under the Train Xyz if you need to. So it has a lot of utility. Redeployment, another really good card, obviously searches Metal Cruncher, but if you can discard another Machina card, perhaps you've opened up 2 of these, you can then search Overdrive, which is another very key piece to the deck. I'm playing 2 Urgent Schedule, so alongside my hand traps, these are going second cards, because going first, they do nothing. unless you get gammed. If you get gammed, Urgent Schedule comes up, which is pretty strong. I'm playing 2. I was originally siding the 3rd. I might still be siding the 3rd actually. No, I've not since siding the 3rd. I've since taken that out. Was siding the 3rd, but I have taken out because I think some of the going second cards are just a bit more impactful in terms of stopping the board. I'd rather stop the board and then try and set up rather than push through it, I think. And I'm playing 1 Revolving Switchyard. This is a card that I haven't seen any lists that I'm playing. This is another copy of Derricrane, so I'm only playing the 1 Derricrane, but this can actually search any of your level 10s. It also puts a card in the graveyard. I've had testing where people have prioritized removing this from the field, mainly because they haven't known what this deck is doing, and this says search, so they try and stop it or remove it. So it gets bait. It's a bait as well for my opponent if I happen to see it. But it's just an extra copy of Derricrane, but it's also an extra copy of the other 2 10s, being Citadel and the Bullet Train, if I don't end up seeing them or if I get hand trapped. For the traps, 3 Overdrive. This card is incredible. Its banish effect pretty much allows your deck to just go and go and go. It doesn't stop. You can pretty much generate infinite resources throughout the course of a duel. I'm playing 3 Impermanence as another hand trap. I'm playing 2 Trenchel. Playing 2 Ice Dragon's Prison. At the moment they are proxied. I have ordered them. I'm hoping they come before locals on Wednesday. This video will be going up on Wednesday, so we'll see. If not, if they don't come by then, I will replace them with Dynamiscus, which at the moment is in the side. And then I'll replace the Dynamiscus in the side with something else. So there will be Dynamiscus if they don't come by then. Hopefully they do. And then the last 2 cards in the deck are Trap Trick, just 2 copies, which is 41 cards total. I just like 41 cards. So hopefully I can get if I get the 3rd Metal Cruncher, I'll be replacing the Revolving Switchyard with that 3rd Metal Cruncher. The extra deck. Playing 2 Double-Headed Anger Knuckle. I was originally playing 1, but you can only use 1 of its effects per turn, not both. So if I need to revive it from the graveyard with its effect to revive, I can't use its effect to then bring out a level 10, which is really, really useful, bringing back those level 10s. I'm playing 1 Ballista, which searches box, 3 Infinitrack Goliath, which combined with Tunneler, you're going to load your grade up with these as fast as possible. Pretty much anytime you've got an Infinitrack, you want to turn into a Goliath, so you can load up your grave with Earth Machines as fast as possible to then put them all back and draw 2, which is pretty good. For the XCs, playing 1 Zeus, 1 Lieb, 1 Dora, 1 Gustav Max, and then playing 2 rank 9s, being Earth Slicer and Calamities. Now we do have the option of going into Calamities depending on what we have in our hand, what we draw, but it's not the priority. The priority is setting up our resources and getting our engine going. For 2 rank 8s, I'm playing Galaxy Eyes, Photon Lord, and Dingirsu. Photon Lord can be useful when you're going to start pushing for game. You can make that fairly easily with Anchor Drill. And then the last XC's monster I'm playing is Riverstorm, which is a very crucial piece to the engine. But I'll explain it a bit more when I do the test hands, and I'll show you the main combo as well. For the side deck, I'm playing 3 Skullmeister and 2 Nibiru, alongside 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Evenly Matched, 2 Heavy Storm Duster, the 2 Dynamiscus I mentioned earlier, and 3 Solemn Judgment. So there's a combination of control and combo cards in here. Because I've already got Trap Trick, I've gone for Duster. Originally I was thinking about Twin Twisters, but we'll try out Duster because I've got more. With Trap Trick I can see it a bit more frequently. So if I was going second into a control matchup, I could obviously side in these 5, but then the Dynamiscus can also come up in a control matchup depending. Going into combo decks, against combo decks, the Skullmeisters and Nibirus can come in, the Evenly can come in depending on what kind of combo deck it is. If it's setting up a lot of hard negations, perhaps not. but I've already got the Ash and the Imperm, plus the 2 Urgent Schedule that are in there, and then Nibiru and Skullmeister. For going first, these are more cards that can be sided in, Judgment and Dynamiscus, which is pretty useful. So that's the side deck. I'll now show you the main combo that the deck is trying to achieve on turn 1 before we do some test hands. Okay, so for the main combo of the deck, you need one of your starters. So for this case, I've gone with Harvester. I'll show you what we're trying to achieve on turn 1. Obviously, this is assuming no interruptions from our opponent and just 4 other cards are in our hand. So we'll just put those other 4 to the side. We're not really going to need them, but we'll start with Harvester. Harvester's effect to search is going to grab Brutal Dozer. Now I will link the video, link in the description of the video. That was the basis for this deck. Aerosol TCG explains this a lot better than I ever could, and I highly recommend watching. It's very, very interesting as well to see the theory behind what the deck is trying to accomplish and what it can do. From here, I'm going to link Harvester. So because I've opened Harvester, not Metal Cruncher, we can do it this way. So we can link into Goliath. So like I said before, any moments to link off Infinitrax is pretty good. We'll now activate Brutal Dozer. So we tribute the Goliath, summon the Brutal Dozer, and Brutal Dozer is going to summon any Infinitrax from the deck. And that's going to be Trencher. And this is the one case where we're not going to link out Infinitrax into Goliath, because we're going to overlay our 2 5s for Riverstormer. Detaching Trencher, that's important. Trencher's much better in the grave. Obviously, Brutal Dozer's already done its job. So detach the Trencher and search for the Bullet Train. Can now link off Riverstormer for a Goliath, and we can special summon Bullet Train because all our monsters are Earth Machine. It's good to get this into rotation early because its grave effect is very important. So in the end phase, if it's in the graveyard, because it was sent there this turn, we can add an Earth Machine, any machine, sorry, in our graveyard back to our hand. From here, we're going to link 2 into our Ballista. Ballista on summon gets to add an Ancient Gear monster or a Gear Town. Obviously our only target for that is Box, but then Box, when it's added, is going to add any Earth Machine with 500 attack or 500 defense, and we can add Tunneler, which has 500 defense. From here, we can use Tunneler, tributing Ballista to summon. We can link for our 3rd Goliath, and we're going to use Trencher here in the grave, banishing it, revive back an Infinitrax, and link 2 into Double-Headed Anger Knuckle. Now from here, the last kind of step is going to be to banish our Tunneler. We've got plenty of Earth Machine targets, and we'll put back our starter in this case because we can then add back Dozer with Bullet Train in the end phase, which means we've got Dozer ready again for next turn to repeat the whole process effectively. So we're putting back all 5 of these, all the Goliaths go back, our Ancient Gear Ballista goes back, Harvester's going back into the deck, and we're going to draw 2 cards. And we'll just draw 2. And they could be whatever. Now, obviously the other 4 cards in our hand could be anything as well, but this is the main end point here of the combo. In the end phase, sorry, we add back the Brutal Dozer. Now, we play a lot of trap cards, so hopefully some of these other cards that we've got are Disruption. Potentially, if we have drawn access into Derricrane or a rank 10, or access to get Citadel onto the field in our turn. No, sorry, it's got to be explicitly specifically access to Derricrane. We can use Anger Knuckle to revive Bullet Train to then summon the Derricrane. So we'll just, I think I've got the Derricrane there. So potentially we could use Anger Knuckle, we have to send a card from our hand to the grave to summon out Bullet Train. Dozer Control would trigger, and we could overlay for Dora. And in end phase, we could detach the Bullet Train just to make sure it's in the graveyard, and then we add back our Dozer. So depending on if we get access to Dozer Control or not, we can do that, which is pretty good. But otherwise, we're just trying to set our trap cards and go into our opponent's turn. From there, in our opponent's turn, boxes in our hand. You can see we've ended with a lot of cards. Like some of them would be trap cards. So if we flip these over just to see what we had, we can obviously set the trap cards we've got. Now this isn't realistic necessarily. I mean, we rigged it to draw the imperms and the ashes, but we're ending on a lot of cards there. So depending on, we're ending with 8 cards. Some might be traps, some might be monsters. And going into our opponent's turn, what we can also then do is we can use Anger Knuckle. I'm usually pitching the box in my opponent's turn, bringing back Train. And again, depending on the rest of our cards, just these two on them by themselves are not stopping very much. They're probably going to get cleared. We can potentially clear them ourselves with cards like Overdrive or Torrential Tribute, because then we want Bullet Train in the grave, because then at the end phase of our opponent's turn, it will trigger again to add Box, and Box gets its effect when added from deck or graveyard, and then we're going to use that going into our turn. We're going to be searching out Anchor Drill. And then obviously we'll draw for our turn. So this is kind of what we're trying to achieve. But yeah, watch the video by Aerosol TCG. It explains the whole process a lot better than what I've just done now. But now I'm going to show you some quick test hands. Now I'm going to do these test hands a bit differently today. The first one, I'll just play out whatever we draw. Because we only need 1 card to get our combo going, and this deck is very consistent, instead of just doing 3 test hands in a row, where we potentially just play out the same combo, the first one I'll play out just normally, and the second one, our opponent might have an Ash, and then the third one, our opponent will have a Gamma, and we'll just see what we can do hypothetically through that. So our first hand, and here I am talking about, we haven't opened our starter here, but that's okay. Okay, so we've got our access to Dozer, which is fine. That's pretty good. We've got Anchor Drill. Now, what we might do with this is pretty good. We can put Citadel on board pretty early. We're assuming our opponent has no interruptions, so we're just going to go as big as we can. So we'll Anchor Drill. Anchor Drill's effect to summon out the Citadel. And we can just let that sit there now. That's just going to be a great disruption going into our opponent's turn. And now we can use Brutal Dozer, tributing Anchor Drill to summon. And now we're going to go into that combo that I was just showing. So I'll go through it fairly quick. We summon Trencher, overlay for River Stormer, detach Trencher. What I didn't do, sorry. Jumping back, when I tributed the Anchor Drill for Dozer, we should obviously make a Goliath first. So we'll have a Goliath engrave, and I'm using River Stormer to search Bullet Train. Alright, that's up. And already this is going to be pretty good. We know we've got our 2 imperms plus our Citadel, so regardless of what we draw with Tunneler, we're going to have a few disruptions for our opponent's turn, which is great. Link the Stormer for the Goliath, summon the Bullet Train, link for 2. I'll put the blister over here so we've got an arrow. It's not really that relevant at the moment, but it could come up in a game depending. Obviously we're going to search box search Tunneler. We can then tribute Ballista for Tunneler, link the Tunneler for Goliath, and now we can Trencher engrave, and summon back, and and making our anger knuckle. Okay, from here we can now use tunneler, putting back the 3 Goliath, the ballista, and in this case we'll put back the anchor drill. That's obviously we're going to add back our dozer and end phase, and it means we can search our anchor drill again with the box going into at the end of our opponent's turn. So put it back in there and drawing 2, a trencher and a metal cruncher. Okay, so no other disruptions, but that's all right. Just gives us follow-up for next turn. And from here we can set our 2 impermanence. Now this is good. Having Citadel online is handy because we can use Knuckles effect in our opponent's turn. So we'll go into our opponent's turn. End phase, obviously, Bullet Train's going to add back Dozer, so we can follow that up. In our opponent's turn, Knuckle can send a card from hand or field, so we can send the box, summon back Train, and now this will be a great target for Citadel, so we can keep the Citadel on board. We can obviously burn through our impermanences as our opponent plays, depending on whatever they're doing. If hypothetically they build their board, they keep going, they can play through the 2 impermanences. We can then Citadel target the Train, keep Citadel on field, because that puts our Train back in the graveyard, ready to get our end phase search. So we've board cleared them. There's not many decks that are going to play through 2 impermanences and the board black from Citadel. So hypothetically, let's just say that was enough. Bullet Train in end phase, add box, and box to search anchor drill. So we had 3 disruptions, and we're starting our turn again when we draw for turn with 6 cards, and we've got everything we could possibly need to continue playing the game. Plus we're already starting with Citadel, which means we can go into a rank 10. Obviously we could, from here, and again, we don't know what our opponent has on the field. We've got Riverstormer in grave, which is fantastic, so we could tribute the Knuckle for Riverstormer's effect. Sorry, no, we don't want to do that. That was really silly. What we want to do when we've got Riverstormer in grave is tribute a Goliath to bring back the Riverstormer, and then we've got material ready to detach and continue searching. So what we could do here is, hypothetically, we're gonna push for game here. So we'll normal anchor drill, summon the box, use anchor drill to make box level 8, and we can overlay those 2 for the Photon Lord, and now we are pretty resilient through a hand trap like a Nibiru. If our opponent had that as a last resort card, once we've broken obviously their board, we can use the Knuckle effect, because we're going to tribute it now to put Dozer on field, but we may as well use its effect first. Can put, we've got Tunneler and Trencher there, so summoning off Dozer, we're not going to be summoning, we'll just summon a Harvester, but then we can Trencher back the Harvester as well. So we'll use Anger Knuckle, send the Trencher to revive back our Train. And then we can use Brutal Dozer, tribute our Knuckle, summon itself, and we'll summon a Harvester. Really random but cool thing we can do is we could Harvester and Bullet Train to make themselves level 12 and hard make Zeus, but we don't want to do that. It's not really that good a play in this current state. But we're going to link Harvester for a Goliath. We can banish the Trencher, bring back the Harvester. I mean, we're putting a lot of bodies on board that we don't actually really need. Actually, let's not do that. Let's hang on to that for now. But let's tribute the Goliath for the Riverstormer in grave. So it comes out in defense mode. Goliath will attach itself. We can detach to search Derry. And now at this point, we're just playing to push for damage. So I mean, we can link those two both into the Goliaths and then go into another knuckle. Put 2 bodies in grave. Derek Crane would come out and we can overlay for depending. I mean, we're going to have a lot of damage, so we don't necessarily need the burn there. And already here we have a lot of damage on board. We can Trencher back Harvester. Put Dozer on board, that's only going to make a 7. But even still, with this, we could obviously keep going. We can detach the Derry to pop a card on our opponent's field. Well, hypothetically, let's just do that. So detach. We can go into leave if we need to. Could detach to give itself attack, but then we're locked into attacking with that. Can only attack 1 extra time. It depends really on what our opponent has, but you can see just the turn 2 there was pretty strong. If our opponent was able to break our board and we weren't left with our Citadel and Knuckle like we were in this hypothetical, we would play a slower game and try and rebuild our board again using all of our resources that we recycled. But now we'll go into a second one, and this time our opponent is going to have an Ash Blossom. So we'll reset this. Now they're going to Ash. We'll make it so that they Ash something significant, not just the first thing that can be Ashed. Maybe it's a game 2, so they're going to try and Ash the Dozer if they see it come up, and that's what we'll do. I think we'll let them Ash the Dozer, and this could be disastrous, it could be good. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we've got our combo. So this time they are ashing our Dozer. Okay, so normal our Harvester. Searching our Dozer. Now already I can see where this is going. I didn't want to normal summon the Anchor Drill there. If we normal summoned Anchor Drill, we'd have more bodies to be able to continue playing, but that's not what we're trying to do. Realistically, that's what I would do there. So turn it into a Goliath, and Dozer tributes the Goliath to summon, and they Ash. So then from here, we really can't go any further with our monsters. So we can set our Ice Dragon's Prison and hold our Ash, which gives us a couple of cards to play with, but that Ash was pretty strong in that case. We didn't really open up with much more we could have done. Hypothetically, we could have normaled our Anchor Drill and then summoned the Harvester, searched the Dozer, and that would have played out differently, but you wouldn't always do that. You might want to conserve the Anchor Drill as follow-up. So anyway, that's that one. And this time, we'll give them a Gamma and see. Oh, okay. So it's good that we gave them a Gamma, because we're going to be able to actually play through that with Urgent Schedule, so that's pretty nice. Alright, so we'll heavy forward, and just like last time, we're going to be going for the Harvester. Normal the Harvester, search Dozer, and they're holding their Gamma for the Dozer. Link for Goliath, tribute Goliath for Dozer, and a Gamma, Dozer gets destroyed. From here, they have 2 monsters, we have none, so we're pretty free to Urgent Schedule. Now we're not going to be able to use Dozer, but that's okay, because we can bring out what Dozer wanted to bring out, being Trencher. And need to go a level 4 lower. Could just get another Harvester. I've already got the Anchor Drill in hand. Getting Anchor Drill there would have been pretty cool. Just gets it into play. Yeah, we're just going to go Harvester just as another body. Downside being here, we're going to lose our access to River Stormer, to our Express Bullet train. We've got Trencher, which can revive. Just thinking how this plays out. You can make Ballista to search Tunneler. Okay, so we'll link our Trencher into Goliath. Means we have access to the Trencher revival now. We can link that into our other Goliath. Just gets all our Goliaths in play. And we'll go into our Ancient Gear Ballista. Use that to search Box, and Box to search the Tunneler. Contribute the Ballista for the Tunneler. Obviously can't link it, we've used all our Goliaths, but we can Trencher, summon, and go into our train link 2. So we've almost accomplished everything. We just missed on our bullet train, which is a really crucial part, but we could potentially see it now with Tunneler. So we'll banish our Tunneler. Oh, hang on. I'm really silly. Let's go back. Let's go back. We had 2 5s on field. That was really silly of me to miss that. We've got 2 5s. We can just overlay now for the River Stormer. Yep, no, that works out exactly right. That's fine. So we can River Stormer. This is perfect. We can detach, search our bullet train, which can of course summon itself. And there's our 2 bodies now to go into our Knuckle. So really, the Gamma there, because we opened Urgent Schedule, the Gamma really did nothing for our opponent. It didn't really stop us at that point. But that was because we had Urgent Schedule specifically, and that was just really lucky on our part that we drew it. We can Tunneler, put back the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 plus our starter to draw 2. Now we've already got Ice Dragon's Prison and Impermanence in hand, so whatever we draw here is a bonus. We've already got some disruption. And having heavy forward's nice because it gives us some options in our next turn to give more material to our cards. Here's our draw 2. Ash, that's great, and another Impermanence. That's fantastic. We can do plenty with that. That's going to give us lots of disruption for our opponent's turn. Obviously, we can set 3. And we're feeling pretty good about that. So we've got 2 Imperms, Ice Dragon's Prison, Ash. And we've got our follow-up for next turn. Obviously, End Phase. Don't forget End Phase effect. Add back Dozer to do it all again. We've got River Stormer and Grave. And that surprisingly played out a lot better than I thought it was going to. So I'm still trying to learn the intricacies of this deck. There's a lot more that obviously I don't know about, and again I'll link that video in the description for you to check out as well. I highly recommend watching it. The theory is very sound. But otherwise, this is the deck that I'll be playing on Wednesday, and hopefully I don't misplay too much. Thank you for watching.